Boom, boom. Safe. How are we? How's that looking? Alright. Cool. Begin the game. Yeah, we're doing some game dev. Yes, we are. And it's Frankie's table. If you remember this one, I've been tweaking it and getting it ready for a release. We think we add some multiplayer and this one's good to go. Get this out on Steam is the plan. But the multiplayer is going to be quite a fiddle. But I've got the basics going, so we're just going to kind of try and... Oh, I see. Yes, how are you? What is good? Long time. I hope you're good. Yeah, I've added like the basics in, but the thing I had to spend a lot of time doing was making a single script for all the items, because I figure if they all use the same script, because so much functionality is shared, and yes, there are edge cases, they all have slight differences, and it's a lot to have in one script, but still, this is just like changing this made it so much easier to start implementing multiplayer over the top, because I can just affect everything with the changes I make now. And there are really only a few moments where there are little edge cases where little things change, and they're normally completely contained little extra actions to take along the way. So yeah, I spent ages doing this, which we haven't really streamed because it didn't seem like the most interesting thing. But I got the basics of multiplayer working, and this is kind of interesting now. So let me show you where we're at. I've got none of the menus fit the new screen resolution because we've upped it now to a 16:9 ratio or whatever. That light's actually a bit garish. Let me just turn that light down. Strength 1. Let's just keep it at like 1.2 or something. It's great, amazing job. Seems to get a great place. And daughter number 2 on the way. Oh, congratulations. That is awesome. Let's try that. Yeah, cool. So look, so this is keyboard, but then that guy over there is moving around with the controller. So we have two players, which is pretty sweet. And they can both kind of interact with the world as you'd expect and do things. can't really control them both at the same time very easily. Oh, just in time. Right, player 2, get the head. Let's get a brain coming out of that. With the sponge down there, because that tends to be where a lot of the gunk's gonna pile up. Right, we need a new body. Let's freeze this one. Maybe might as well make a bone out of that before it rots. Maybe make blood out of that before that rots. Anyway, so this is how the game works. It's like an overcooked, but a gory overcooked, I suppose. And the idea with the multiplayer is... Oh no, he just unfroze so quickly! That seemed a little too quick. Anyway, whatever. So that's what, as far as we've got, but what we don't have are the players like colliding with one another yet. Silverman, I see great pixel art, I click. Oh, nice. I'm glad we got you. Welcome. My Corey, welcome. It's actually my mate Rob who did all this pixel art for this game. This is the Jam pixel art as well. He's working on all new assets for this full thing. It's basically the elevator pitch is it's like overcooked but making Frankenstein's monster. So overcooked with body parts. And the gimmick is that in the multiplayer, we're basically going to be able to harvest one another's body parts. Like you can, at the moment, you get like these random bodies fall in, right? And you can kind of cut them up and stuff. Do various things with them. So we need to, let's just like blend the foot. And then we can hand in the bucket of blood. Right, but at the moment, look, the two players don't even collide with one another yet, so that needs to change. So we can control this second player with the controller at the moment for testing purposes. Yeah, but we want them to overlap with each other. We want them to interact with each other. We want to be able to, just as you can pick up this, we want to be able to go to your mate and pick them up and put them through the blender, right? And then that means that then they respawn in one of these bodies, stands up, and they start walking around, and there's this kind of loop of like blending your friends. Yeah, exactly. That's the gimmick. And so on some levels, I guess we can really limit the number of bodies that are being thrown into the room. So the only way to get through the quests will be to sacrifice one another in various gruesome machines. That's the aim. Thanks for the follow, my Corey. That's awesome. So yeah, so basically we've got all these basics set up. We've got the Jam game, and I've got the basics of, now there are two players that can both do things in the world. I'm sure there are bugs because I haven't tested things like what if they both try to grab the same item at the same time. Things like that. It's bound to come up. So my plan is to get them interacting with one another. So when they go to pick one another up, there's going to be that same scenario where they both press the button at the same time. They both try to pick each other up at the same time, and we need some kind of way of ensuring that only one of them wins that race. And if they're both going to press it at the same time, I mean, if it's exactly on the exact same frame, we just have to pick randomly, I guess. I don't know what the fairest thing to do is. I don't know how multiplayer games are. This is new to me, but I would imagine that's the fairest thing to do. Coin flip, yeah, exactly. So the way I see it is we can work out how we do all of that stuff in the isolated case of them trying to both pick one another up at the same time. Then what we learn and what we build in there, we can then go back and sort of retrofit it to all of our items so that they're all capable of, I mean, maybe we won't need to, maybe we can write it in such a way that it's just across all player inputs Maybe that's the way to do it, is just on a fundamental level. Every frame, check for clashing inputs or something. I don't know. Did I draw the pixel art? No, so my mate Rob did almost all of it. I think all of it. There were a couple of bits I tweaked here and there, but nothing, like, I think just maybe putting a stand on that thing I did. But yeah, no, Rob did it all, and it's pretty wicked. But he's redoing it all, I think, for this release version. So there's all these different machines do different things. This one cuts the bodies up into pieces. This one accepts any piece and blends it into a blood, but you need the bucket in there. This is a freezer, which you can only put whole bodies in. You can freeze whole bodies in there, and sometimes what he requests a frozen one. Then this machine here takes, so of the body parts, you've got head, torso, foot, and hand. This one takes the main ones, the head and the torso, and it extracts organs, brain and heart. This thing up here, the ants, takes the feet and the hands, and it like turns them into bones. And bones is the only thing you can't blend for blood. So there's like a few nice little different dynamics between the 5 machines. And then you've got the chaos of having to bring the bucket back in, and you've also got the sponge for tidying up any rotten bits. As bits go rotten, you have to pick up the sponge and clean the floor. It's the randomization. No, you always get you get one of each. You put the body in and you get a head, a torso, a foot, and a hand. You get all 4 out for each one body. There was talk of 2 hands and 2 feet, but I think it just ends up with giving you too much stuff. Although I do want to work on that. At the moment it spits all 4 out at once, and what I'd like to do is, depending on which order you put it in, if you put it in head first, it should spit out the head, right? then the hand, maybe, then the torso, then the legs, and the other way around it would spit them out the other way around. I quite like the idea of that. So if you know you need the head first, you rotate the dude and chuck him in head first. Anyway. Those are all the mechanics, and this is just like a test chamber. You can play the jam game now, my Corey, if you want, on my like itch page. But the jam is single player, and it was like a little square screen. So I just basically gutted the jam game of most of it, apart from putting all the mechanics back into one testing space. And that's all we got. That's this. And then, yeah, we've been messing around a little bit with some lighting as well. So we've got some cool shadows and stuff to just make it feel a bit more moody. I don't know if the camera's more to do with being a bit darker, actually. Just like there. Yeah, pretty nice. I think the shadows look cool. There's some really big ones. Stand right next to it. Anyway, yeah, cool. So, first things first. I think we've sort of discussed all of the various bits and bobs, and now we need to get down to business. Now, I think this first one should be easy. I want the players to collide with one another. Now, they're on player, and they look to world and items, but they don't look to player. So let's have them look to player too. I don't think they should collide with themselves. I don't think that's how these things work, but I do think now. And you can't really push them, so that's a thing. I wonder if we want like their own sort of soft body scenario. But maybe it's fine if they just snag on each other, because both players will be playing. So it's not like we're gonna ever have a dude still like that. And they'll be able to pick each other up as well. So yeah, I don't think it's that important actually to think about it. Like the fact that they can do this to one another. If anyone stands still in front of you, you just pick them up. So yeah, I think that's the first thing I wanted to do. Have them collide with each other fixed with one button press. So whoop-de-doo. Now they have to be able to pick each other up. And now this is going to get interesting, because the pickup area now is looking at items, but maybe we want to also looking at player. And if we turn that on, so pickup area is looking at player without trying to pick anything up, does anything break? Like, do we become Like, we can't walk through each other anymore. I reckon if I tried to pick him up, it will crash. Yeah, it crashed, of course. Of course it crashed. Because get picked up is not a function that the player possesses. It is a function that items possess. So we just got to probably copy that over and then adjust it to fit the new case of it being the player. So we'll give the player a get picked up function. The items have that already. Let's find it. I guess we also need get put down. For now, let's just do that. Let's just make players be able to pick each other up and put each other down, but they can't process each other into like machines or anything, right? You just pick them up and put them down. I mean, I'm sure this is going to have to be very different on the player, but let's go for it. I don't think so. I guess we do want like a variable for this here. Holding player. So this is the player that, and its holding item is. So we say we want probably above this as well, right? Like is being held. False. And the holding player is no one by default. And then down here it's like we're saying the holding player. We're saying the holding player is that dude who's just passed himself to you by commanding you to be picked up. And then this is being held. It's true. So the player doesn't have a reference in its code to its own collider. No, it doesn't. That surprises me a lot, but okay, cool. Well, get one. Because all these things need to happen. Like, it is the same. And then the whole area. I thought the player does have a whole area, but again, we don't have a reference to it up here, so now we do. And then it's just a case of in the physics process here. At some point before here, if you get picked up while you're holding something else, you need to drop that thing as well. There's going to be tons of little other things to add here, but I think we can get a basic version of it going just by kind of intercepting the physics process here with is being held, So global position, and then we just have to copy what the items do. It's picked up here. We just want exactly that. Is the holding player, it's called in this case. Global position, and then plus that amount, right? You want to like rotate the sprite as well. But let's just test this for now, because I think this will just work. I hope. I really hope this works. Oh man, it works. And the other player can't do anything. And then I can just put him back down, and then you can run off and can do stuff again. Oh my god, it's so good. It works so quickly. Okay, that's brilliant. That is very satisfying. Let's make it look a bit prettier now, because we kind of want it to go. We want to play a frame of animation just at the front, like just looking forwards. There's quite a few things we need to do to the player when they get picked up and then when they get put down, right? I want to turn them on their side. Ooh. We also need to deal with the thing of, if you get picked up and you're holding an item, then you need to drop the item. So is holding items what we're going to check here. And so when you get picked up, if is holding then I think drop item just resets the player's own records of the item. But what about the item itself? We need like and then drop item. So it's this line of code here. Get put down. So if holding item, do that and that. Okay, another little experiment. So let's say player 2 picks up the body, and then player 1 comes over and picks up player 2. The body just gets nicely dropped on the floor. What happens if I'm like holding the bucket and player 2's like holding the dude and then comes over? No, it can't do that. Good. But then yeah, that seems to work. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, this is good. This is all happening quite quickly. The time I spent cleaning up the code after the jam and getting the item script, like, so I mean, like, the basic game is running in these 3 scripts, and I mean, game doesn't even have that much in it. Basic light doesn't even need to be open. I suppose there's like all the order manager scripts as well, aren't there? That's got quite a lot of the game logic in it. But in terms of, yeah, these interactions, like, it's all in these 2 scripts, which is quite awesome. All the machines have their own scripts, which, yeah, is maybe okay. We'll see if that becomes a problem. I don't think it will, because It's really the items that interact with the machines, not the players. I think it should be alright. And machines do all do different things, whereas the items all largely behave the same now. If we add any new items to the game, they're all just going to fit into this system very effortlessly. Just to add certain functionality, you'll just have to add them into certain points of the, you know, that's it. Be a piece of piss. Right, anyway. So now, do we just... Yes, Clockwork Village. Shout outs. Word. How are you? We've made a lot of progress here, so we're like kind of working already. Look. Kind of like pick him up and carry him around and stuff. Yeah. And if you're holding an item and you get picked up, you drop the item. Which makes a lot of sense, I think. So yeah, it's all kind of happening. So I think I'm just going to race ahead with getting stuff working, seeing as it's been so quick. You know, in theory, the next thing to add is just that you can blend a player. Haven't had a chance to play the build yet. Oh, no worries. I mean, there's probably going to be an even better version pushed tonight, so I wouldn't bother, because of the amount I've added just in this first half an hour of streaming is crazy. It's happened very quickly. But now we want to be able to put him on there, or in there, or in there. Those. Although, do you want to be able to? Maybe you should. Shouldn't be able to freeze the other player, because then they just can't play. They're just frozen, but they're not like dead and respawning. Seems a bit harsh. I think also this is going to mess with how we spawn dudes. The body spawner. The body spawner, let's get that script open, because this guy should basically be forced to throw a body down whenever a player gets blended. Like, if there's no one for the player who's just been killed to respawn into, it's going to be boring for them. Fast-paced, like arcadey gameplay, do you know what I mean? Like, you die and then you're back. Players and objects should be able to go in every processor. Surely only just the ones that accept bodies, right? Like this one only accepts heads. So you'd have to blend the player first and then put the player's head in there. But like, yeah, because these two only accept the parts once they've been processed. These three accept, like, well, that one accepts everything apart from bones, I suppose. But yeah, definitely you should be able to put them in the blender and the processor. We're going to ditch the freezer, were we? It doesn't really add much, it's true. But maybe if it froze the body for longer, it might add something. Because you could freeze particular parts. Maybe we should let you put more into the freezer than just bodies. Maybe it should take everything. Then I think it would be cool, because like imagine like a scenario where you put a dude in the processor because you need to submit his head or his brain, right? Everything should go in everything. Yeah. In that case, it may be an idea. No, it's fine. Fuck it. We'll leave it for now. Useful and non-useful outcomes. I see, okay. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that can go through some iteration and I guess what the machines are and what they all do. For now, the point is we need to be able to actually put players into machines. I suppose that's the point. So let's start with the processor, which means we probably need that guy's script open as well. There's the blender. So we'll take the blender and the processor scripts. The two that I think the player should be able to be put into, at least in this prototype that we're working on now with the setup the way it is. So when we pick something up, pickups here. So the bucket takes priority, but if it's not a bucket thing, then the pickup area the held item becomes that thing. Okay, so that's good. So have this item index. So does the player, is the player in a group called player? No. Okay, so let's do that. And this would be a group that all players are in. It's just whether you are a player or not. Okay, and then we'll just do one more of these. So does that mean player is going to be index 13? Very good. Wait, do we want number 6 then? Because it's just a body. It just needs to act exactly like a body. That needs to say player. No, it's probably a good idea to give it its own one. But then this is so ridiculous. So do we want to add it in here, or do we just create a whole new sort of location for players being consumed? Because, you know, all this start processing stuff. Because here's the thing, right? We don't want to ever queue free a player. We want them to regain control of some other new character, right? And it should still look the same as the character they had before, I guess. I mean, I could for now just create like a basic respawn mechanic where they just flash and respawn. But it would be more fun if they flew in from the sky back onto the floor just like the bodies do. They just fly back in like a new body. It's hard to know how best to implement this, isn't it? Because, like, I guess it's just gonna. I'm just gonna have to pick something and we test it, and then pick something else. Because there's quite a few options here. You know, an immediate respawn makes me realise that what that means is the players always just have access to infinite body parts. So maybe you do just need to wait. We need to basically check if there are any bodies on the floor, and if not, you've got to wait for the next one that comes in and just be that. Because that way then by blending your friends, you don't actually change the rhythm of the gameplay. I guess that makes the most sense. So what we actually need for a respawn mechanic is just you just sort of need to wait. You just need to go into limbo. And blending your mate comes with a consequence. Yeah, because you actually lose manpower, but you don't necessarily gain any additional bodies. What you do get is a body. If you have no other spare bodies, then you get the next body early by blending your mate. So I think this all makes sense. So from a code point of view then, when the player, if we implement this sort of like the start and finish processing functions to the player, just like the items have, which I think is the way to go, just keep things standardized, then when it finishes processing, I mean, it's only the blood that doesn't just get destroyed by the act of being processed when it comes to items. All the others queue free. What the player would do at this point is sort of become invisible and go into a kind of like dormant, like ready to respawn state. And then we need to check to see if there are bodies on the floor that we can embody one of them. And if there isn't, then we just sort of stay in that state waiting for a new body to be revealed. See, it's being mainly for the lols, yeah. Well, yeah, having it in for the lols for sure, but I mean, it also has to work as a game, has to be a good mechanic, right? Otherwise, we want things that are funny and fun. Hold on. Alright, sick. Okay. So yeah, we just need to expand the code out then. So put down I've just thought I can make this code an awful lot more efficient by putting this block into its own function. I want to do that now. Process item machine. We feed it machine. It's just that every time, isn't it? That. Okay, it's not that many times, but let's just do it. So we're going to grab that bit, pop that in there. We can't put it on Frankie. Because held item is a global variable, or a variable for the whole script anyway. But machine is inside here, but so if we feed it through, then that should work, I think. Okay. What about just handing in your buddy, like, as a body? Does Frankie accept players? I guess so. Something fucked up's happened to my back this afternoon. Sorry, just to do some stretching. Ooh. Right, okay. Spade. Yeah. But then we're adding hitboxes and health and stuff. Or maybe not health, but at least hitboxes. And then probably another button as well for attack. I don't know. Feels like sifts. Okay. Hans YOLO, yes. How is it going? I hope you're good. So it's sort of like the game is like gory overcooked, basically. You're helping Frankenstein create his monster. See, this is the exact situation. This is where we'd need to blend our friend here. Need to throw player 2 into the blender. We're never going to get that brain done in time. You little sick. Oh no. I'll get well soon. Just in time. Just jumped over the thing then somehow. Oh, that's cool. It's a new bug, new to me. Decent. Get me to the... Oh no! Glitched myself into the wall. Okay. Okay, well there you go. There's a bug. Right, let's deal with player scenarios first. So if it's basically the same thing we're going to say. If the held item is in player group and the machine is in processor, then hey, this is we're gonna do some stuff. And again, if the machine isn't processing, that's all we need to check in this case, because the player can't be frozen. Then I guess it's got to be that. It's just the same thing, right? And then the other one is the blender, but I don't see an option for that here. It's definitely a good bug, that I think. Yeah. Where's the blender here? There. If you're not holding blood, and you're not holding a bone, and you're not holding the sponge, and the machine is a blender, then that's what you do. So yeah, we want like a copy of this for the other sort of player scenario here, which is that. But we can just make a positive statement and say, if it's the player, and it's the blender, and if the blender's not processing anything, and the bucket is docked, then really remarkable. Okay, cool. So I think that should catch the two things from the player's point of view. That means the player is then going to go through this process here, where that machine is going to be told to start processing, and it's going to be given the player to do that with. The player is also going to be told that they're being processed by said machine, and the machine here is the parent, so that is the actual machine, the static body or whatever item type machine is. I think they are static bodies. I mean, I can actually get rid of a lot of these random scenes now. Go with basic light. Although actually I should show you that, Pete. I just had a brief mess around with what we talked about the other day, just to test out a few different lights. So I just made this scene with the two lights in, called it basic light, and gave it a script where you can just change its color, size and strength in the scene here. So then there they are, and you can make them like, to make one of them yellow or whatever. And then we got the yellow one over here. Yeah, I wanted to make it a little bit less dark, and I was like, you know what, let me see if I can just do this. So yeah, it didn't take super long. I'm sure you could do more with it and customize them way more than that, but it just proof of concept there. But anyway, I'm going to close all of these because I was working on these all separately when I was doing the play script. But now what I really want open is just the game, the player, and the relevant machines, the blender. and the processor. Just so we can look at how what makes these things tick while we're writing the code here. So yeah, the body spawn is going to come into it too. I think this is everything we need. I'm just going to go grab a glass of water and then we'll roll up our sleeves. Okay. Thanks, Hans. Saying this looks cool. Appreciate it. But cool to set the texture in that as well, because I'm thinking it might be nice to match the lighting to the pixel grid. Pixely light, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, well, you can have a fiddle. Like I said, I'll push like whatever we do this evening. So that would be the one to mess around with, I think, rather than the last one. Okay, so we've got as far as basically now we're going to be feeding the machine, the player, in their start processing function, and we're going to be feeding the player, the machine, in its start processing function, which is a function at the moment that the player doesn't possess. So the simplest way is going to be to copy them from the item as a template and go from there. So first things first, the player's not going to want to do any of these things when it finishes. For now, we're just going to pass. We're just going to do nothing. Now, when it starts getting processed, this is being held. Okay, so the blender requires the Z index to go to 1, otherwise we want the Z index at 0. It puts its global position there, and then is being processed. If we look at how items behave, when they're in is being processed, I believe they do nothing. They skip their physics process when they're in that state. They pass, yeah. So the player in its physics process, if it's being held, it gets moved around, is being processed, it can just pass, and it doesn't have is being processed yet, so now it does. And therefore I don't see why that won't work. And then for the processor is going to have start processing, and it's going to be fed the player. If body is in group body, do that, because the processor only accepts bodies, or now it accepts players, but the player's not going to have a decay level. That's not going to be relevant, so the processing decay can stay at 0. Although this is going to be a bug, isn't it? Because do we have a finished processing here? We don't. So it actually needs to be set to 0. So maybe the I was going to say the easier way is to just give the player this variable and just set it to 0 and never change it, but that seems a bit silly. 2 seconds. Alright, we're back. You have terrible news. It's starting to go bald. I know. Is making a 2D game easier than 3D, or is it just different? Good question. I guess it's just different, but I think 2D is generally simpler in many ways. I would say it's definitely the place to start. There's just less to think about. Right, so if it's a body, then you need to set the delay right. But if it's not the body, then it's going to be a player. So then processing decay can just be 0. So that things come out fresh. The parts that get produced will come out fresh. Oh, this is the timer type, so this is it. If it gets finished. Null. But at no point does the processing decay get reset. It just gets reset when the next thing starts. So yeah, we do need to just set it to 0 if the player's going in. So that, I think, works for that one then. And then for the blender's going to have start processing coordinates. It's going to be this guy. Rob, yes. How are you? Big up yourself. So this is going to start the timer. It's going to do the animation. It's going to set the player in there. And it's going to do a load of effects. So now it seems like it will work fine. And it just moves it around and does stuff to it. So I think those guys are fine. I dare say it will work. It's just this here. When you finish processing, that player's just going to be in limbo forever because they just got past there. Yes, Rob, with the sub there. Big up yourself. Currently on a 1 month streak. So wait, 2 months is a one. I would have thought 2 months is a 2 month streak. Yeah. Right, let's try and blend a friend. Yes, it fucking works. Amazing. Player 2's just gone because we don't have a respawn mechanic, so that's it. They're just done. They're cooked. Alright. Let's try and blend a friend. Let's try and actually blend one this time. Not process a friend. I mean, yeah. You know what? The benefit is because I made all the items character bodies, didn't I? So they really are just like inanimate players in that respect. All the items anyway. Ship it. Yeah. Wow. Okay, we're making progress far faster than I thought we would tonight. This is wicked because it just means we can at least test it, even if there's bugs all over the place. If we can have some 2-player madness, this could be so jokes. All right, cool. So let's what's the next thing? Respawning. So at this point, when the player finishes processing, they got to be like, right. Boom. Is there any empty bodies that I can be? Pick up and throw a player. We don't have any throwing at the moment. We just have picking up and putting down. It's literally move and one button, isn't it, at the moment? I wonder if there's a button combination we could do for a throw. Maybe if you tried to put something down while moving. But not sure about throwing. It would be cool to be able to throw over the top. But I mean, co-op puzzles, like, I don't know, we're not really going for puzzles, are we? We're more going for, I don't know what you call it. Overcooked. Have you ever played Insane Aquarium? That rings a bell, you know. Insane Aquarium. Tell me more, Hans. What's it about? It might trigger my memory. That name rings a bell. Like, it could be cool if the map was on two. If there was like, imagine like a map here, where like you had like a cavern in the middle and some machines on one side and some on the other, and you had to throw each other back and forth to like get stuff and throw bodies to each other. You buy a fish for aquarium, it gets invaded by aliens. Yeah. A teleporter or conveyor belt. Oh yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we? Okay, well, anyway. Yeah, we just want to get some respawning going. So I think the game... Where... The body spawner, yeah. Spawn. So spawn. For iron generator mount. Amount is set there anyway. Per level. I remember how that works. Gives you a potion to use on the body to reincarnate your friend. And then choose which body they come back in. Yeah, well, but then... don't we want, for the sake of clarity, we want them to have the same sprite they've chosen at the beginning, right? Thank you, the funny, or you just end up being whatever it is you end up being. You know, maybe you just lose the character you chose at the beginning for the rest of that round at that point, and you just have to be one of the zombies. Could be quite jokes. Not sure how we'd do taking a potion over though. So the body spawner, we say get parent and then we add the child. So yeah, it's just sitting in the underneath game with everything else. So I guess when the player needs like another state. When they finish processing, then they like start processing is being held is now false. Is being processed is now true. So it's being processed is false. But they need to go into like a ready to like a respawning. Something like that. And so then while they're respawning, they can keep trying things. I need to see a picture of this insane aquarium to jog my memory. I feel like it rings a bell, yeah. I feel like this is one of them games that I never owned, but played at like a mate's house or something. It does look familiar, but I don't know it well. I think it's fair to say. I mean, do we really want to be... Blitzar, big up yourself. Can't code in Godot, and I'm beginning it in general. But couldn't you make a respawn function instead of having a else if you're going to call it multiple times? Well, yeah, so this is more just like... yeah, exactly. So anything that we want to happen once at the moment that you go into that state can happen here in this function, and anything that we want to happen continuously while you're in that state can happen here. this is like just kind of segmenting the physics process. So we've got like, but I don't necessarily think there is anything we want to do every frame. Apart from, I mean, maybe we want to take input from the player so they can select, you know, maybe I was just thinking we have some kind of highlighter on the body with an arrow being like, you know, player 2, press start. And then if you don't press start and you press arrows, you could like select which one you want to come back into. So that anything like that becomes like the players actually controlling that, like who they respawn into. It's kind of would make sense. A second player manifest as a ghost. Yeah, that would be jokes. I mean, for now, let's just put a pass in here. I don't just want them to adjust for either, though, because then, like I say, we end up with this thing where the 2 players then have an infinite amount of resources. They just keep blending each other and respawning and respawning and respawning. So what we want is... And also, I don't think we necessarily want to check if there are bodies to embody. You know, like maybe the respawning state hasn't started yet. Maybe that state only starts when there are bodies to spawn into. I feel like we want to... What we want to do is we want to check once to see if there are bodies. At this point here, we want to check to see if they are bodies. And if there are, then cool. If there aren't, then we want to wait for an update from the body spawner to tell us it's happened. There are now bodies. What if the player manifests as a ghost, but the other player can force them into a body of their choosing? But from a potion from a wall dispenser, this is just adding even more complications. I'm trying to think what's the most elegant. What's the way of doing it where we have to add nothing? How does the player even die? So you get blended by your friend. That's how. Did I just put pass in the function for now? Yeah, I did. Okay, so nothing extra is happening from what we've added here yet. But I can demonstrate. So I can pick up, this is player 2 here. Let's have player 2 pick up player 1. And pop them over there. Let's go get the bucket and let's blend player 1 here. Well, they're pretty dead now. That's player 1. Why does your friend blend you? It's a good question. That's between you and your friend. Well, no. So I mean, let's say that you needed to hand in that bucket of blood for the mission, and you didn't have any other bodies to blend. Then you might resort to blending one another. It's kind of like a last lifeline. Is your teammates' own body parts become, submittable items. That's the catch. That's the one thing that makes this not just a reskinned Overcooked. We've added this blend your friend element. It is kind of genius. What theme was the jam? The jam theme was From the Dead. You can play the jam version on my itch page. It's only single player, but there are like 5 levels or something, I think we did. And yeah, it's a bit of a laugh. So you can go play the jam version now. The idea is to add multiplayer and get it out on Steam. Because with remote play, whatever it is, remote play together, whatever it's called, people should be able to play this online, so long as we just get the local co-op working, get it on Steam, bish bash bosh. That is the plan. Right here. Okay. I mean, the other option, but presumably this is incredibly inefficient, but it will just work, is to just put it in the physics process wherever I put that. We just say in here, look, is there a body, is there a body, is there a body, is there a body, and as soon as there is, you just be it. I think the blood, we called it blood, but it's like the bucket, has a respawn timer and a whole respawn mechanic to it. Oh yeah, it's just got the item script, of course it is. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, just like the player has to actually press A. Perfect. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So in here, we'll listen for if, oh no, not input, not input. If multiplayer input. Where is it? This is exactly what we want. So now we'll check blah de blah. What we can do actually is called this attempt respawn, and then move it to there. So what we want to do is we want to ask the game to go through all of its children. It's like this. We want to do one of these. So we say for child in get parent, get children, if child dot is in group body, not body, wait, what am I trying to find? Yeah, body. Like as soon as we find one, we can just say, well, that's the one we'll be then. Adam C. Eunice is so good, man. Like, I absolutely binged everything when I first found his channel. Amazing. I really like his style as well. Just like very chill, but like a good amount of detail. He gets into the nitty gritty when the time is right. I'm sure I forgot the idea. No, you got it, Hans. Like, that's the thing. There needs to be a body available for you to respawn into. So if there is one here, boom, then that's then we're going to say, like, at this point, like, respawning is false now. You're not respawning anymore. You're just back to a regular state. And global position is going to be equal to child.global position. And we can animate this later and blah de blah. So you make that good position, and then the child we're just gonna key free. And just he's gone, buddy. And I think that'll work. So we'll process player 2 immediately. There are bodies for player 2 to go into. So we press A. Oh, we just consumed them both though. Oh yeah, because we didn't return. We didn't return, right? We need to return here so that we don't like kill everybody on the screen and just like move to the last one we killed in the whole list. But we actually we do it when we successfully do it once, we stop. Like we stop trying to do that to every single child. Okay, cool. He's just a big boy, yeah. Okay, there's one body there. Okay, so he's back and he can walk around and he seems to work. So now what happens if we blend this guy? Blend the other dude. Okay, and then let's blend this. So now there's nowhere. Wait, is he not? Oh, his colliders are all off. Can I just run off the screen? Okay, so when you come back from the dead, your colliders are still off. So is this finished processing bit? No, it's not this bit. It's here. It's as soon as respawning is false. Those two. So we need to reverse those two things. So the collider is not disabled anymore and the monitoring of collisions is back on. That's half the ghost code written. Initialize the colliders. Yeah, that's exactly it. Blitzy, you got it. You got it. I think this will do the trick now. Because we just actually get an error. So we were trying to animate there can be bodies to respawn into that are themselves being processed. We just tried to respawn into a body that was already inside the blender. So if the child is in group body and child, oh wait, no, we need to do that first. If it's in the body, then if is processing, it's false. Yeah, they have is processing already. Oh, that needs to be a double. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So I just want to say if not. Child is processing. And let's look at this for a second then, because it could be being processed. Oh, it's not is processing, it is being processed. We don't want to spawn into one in someone's hands either. Is full and is docked don't apply. Is picked up and is being processed do. And falling as well. And frozen probably. And entering. There's like there's a lot of these states here that all we want to not be. So it's picked up. And not being processed. And not falling. I need a button mash fight back mechanic to break free. Yeah, you could do that, yeah. The variables impact performance. I mean, I don't think having lots of variables impact performance. It just depends what you're doing with them. Like how many times are you checking them or resetting them? It has a much bigger impact. But this script is for all the items in the game. So not all of them use all of these variables all the time while they exist. Anyway, falling was one, and then is entering and is frozen, I definitely think. Did I say it's frozen, yeah? Okay, that should take care of any bugs related to that kind of thing. Okay, we've got lots of bodies to come back into here. Let's just get them all being processed. Just in time. And just chuck them all away. Okay, so I'm mashing respawn, and there we go. And then I was able to come back in just in that moment. So we had a respawning. That's interesting. We had a respawn. Look, we have like a kind of respawning thing for the player for when they fall down the hole. Let's look at that, because I want to maybe respawn timer start. On respawn timeout, falling is false. On hold timeout. You set them back there. Hold on a minute then. So how does this bloody work? So when you're falling, all that stuff happens. The whole timer starts. When that time's out, one second, and it's a one shot. The whole timer is 5 seconds. Well, yes, the variables are kind of acting like a very, very disorganized state machine. There's much better ways of doing it than this, but for this sake, for game, I think it's gonna be fine. If you wanted the bigger I did like a much more complicated state machine for the Aquaboy like character controller. We had like a separate node for each state actually inside the scene and stuff. So you're loading these nodes in and out of the kind of like active script that was being read. Each node had a script attached to it for each state. It was like proper epic. What I'm trying to work out is where that flashing came from. On respawn timer timeout, falling is false. That's it. How does that... There must be something in the physics process. Right. If not respawn timer, it stops. If the respawn timer is going, then you should be flashing. That's where it is. So I'm going to just say respawn is going to be that spot there. And we start the respawn timer, which will give us the flashing. I don't know why I went and threw that body away straight away. That was actually not what we needed to do at all. Okay, so why did we end up not the right way round? So all we've got to do is just whenever the respawn timer stops, make that true. I'm surprised I didn't have that in there already. On the respawn timer timeout like that, make the sprite visible. Okay. Now I want to stop the player from automatically respawning like that when they fall in a hole. So we don't want to start the respawn timer or set their global position here. We just want to reset the scale and the rotation degrees. But we want to make them sort of invisible. The point is we have a respawning thing here, yeah, so we want to take that and make it part of the kind of resetting up of the character here. And then we want to, in there, just simply say that we're doing this. And is there any reason why then, if we're doing that, that we need to save? We can just say we're not falling anymore here when the whole timer times up, but we are respawning now. And then we can get rid of that there. And all we do when the respawn timer times out is just ensure that we're now visible. I think that should work. So if I walk into the hole now, yeah, I can just take over that body and come back, but I have to press the button. God, why does that work? Why does trying to interact with this push you through it? Can I do that to other machines? Not that one. Can do it to that one though. Weird. Okay. Well, I think that's everything I wanted. I think that's the game functioning like enough to test multiplayer now. Jumping over the top like a car bonnet, yeah. Excellent. You know, it's enough to test it, I think, and that's the point. Oh yeah, we should freeze this guy. Let's let player 2 respawn. I could maybe just get a bone going here. Oh yeah, we need to blend someone. Player 1, quickly grab this and hand it in. Just in time. Ooh. Oh, that was a good bug. The bucket. Right. Right. Yeah, so that shouldn't, yeah, weird. This doesn't. I don't see why it would snap to the closest player. Yeah, that was almost what it looked like it did, but that doesn't make sense to me because of the way this is done. So when any object gets picked up, and the bucket is also running this script. The bucket has this script on it. Player global position. You should snap to that player and get picked up. New player. Player equals new player. So is the player passing that in when it comes to pickups. If the bucket's docked, is not nothing, and it's not processing anything, okay, yeah, so get undocked. The item get undocked is like a special type of get picked up for the bucket when it's coming in and out of the thing, and we never added the logic of knowing which player is undocking you. So then we say player equals new player there. So then the player who actually sends the get undocked signal is now become the player that the item is concerned with. That's the problem. Get picked up, I added that in. Get undocked, which is a special version. Get picked up. I mean, I wonder if we need it. Is it a special version? Is it identical code? I suppose we have this special variable about whether it's docked or not. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll just leave it as it is. It's fine. And then that should fix the bug now entirely. Except that in the player script, this get undocked is going to need to be fed argument, which will be self. So if one player puts the bucket in and the other comes and picks it up, that now works. Yeah, cool. I'm happy. Well, to be honest, I'm happy. I mean, I think this needs some serious testing now. There's definitely bugs, but I mean, do I want to try and add a player select screen? I think for now, just the 2 is fine. Yeah, this is fine for now. I think I'm going to call it there. I think I'm going to push this. Can you grab the objects out of the other player's hands? No, we don't have that going on at the moment. That could be cool though. What we have though, actually, hold on, because I did do a case for this. Is that you prioritize picking up the dude. So if you're holding something here, if I come here to try and pick something up, I pick up the player, not the item. So yeah, we went that way round with it, which I think is probably more fun. Like you have to put something down for them to pick it up. It's more fun. Cool. Well, I think that's the guts of it implemented. Actually, I thought tonight I may only spend time getting them picking each other up and putting each other down. We've actually managed to get all the machine interactions in and the respawning. It's all been incredibly fast, which is really reassuring. What we haven't concerned ourselves with is the kind of like race condition stuff. Like what happens when 2 players send the same command on the same frame. Which no doubt loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of bugs will come from that. So I'm hoping there's just an elegant way of us doing something with that. Like a very fundamental level, like in the player script, where maybe there's just a general rule. We just, for every time when we check about players pressing the action key for pickups, and it's only the one for pickups. The one for respawns totally... the one for respawns might matter. The one for putting down doesn't matter. Two players can put something down at the same time and they won't impact each other. Being object oriented. I mean, that's what Godot is anyway. Each player technically is a separate script. Well, yeah, so this script here, this player script, is going to be being instanced. For every player we have in our game, this script is going to be running separately for each of those players. Like in here, we've got player 1 and player 2. That mean each of those two nodes will be running that script separately for themselves. But I'm just thinking, yeah, putting objects down, I suppose even that does matter, because two players could try to submit an item to a machine at the same time. That will no doubt, that whole thing is probably the next big task for me, because no doubt loads of bugs will be. I mean, it's probably just that. It's probably the only thing. If I can nail that, probably it's finished. Then it's just like content. But the sort of architecture will be in place then. But yeah, we just need to work that out. And I don't think it matters about movement. I think it only matters about pick up and put downs. Because when the player presses, when we're looking for the actions from players here, well, I suppose even this one it does matter, because actually it totally does, because they still need to take it in turns to do this. Anyway, maybe it's just a simple buffer. So we just say, like, we just have to intercept these with some kind of buffering signal to say, like, you know, am I the only person this frame who sent that request? Anyway, we'll get to it. But I think for tonight, I am going to call it a night. Done a couple of hours. Got a lot more done than I expected. So, begin a game. I haven't been getting to bed early enough recently, so I might try and buck that trend tonight. Or just at least sort of just slob out for a bit. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with the progress we've made. It was such a slog. I've spent the better part of a week like doing this really boring kind of just refactoring of this giant item script here. And it just didn't seem like anything I could stream, because it was just systematically going through functions and condensing them and saying, okay, well, if these 3 items want it to behave like this and these 2 items want this slight change, can I rewrite it so that it can like keep everyone happy? So yeah, I did all that. I will push it now, I guess, for sure. But yes, I didn't really feel like I could stream any of that. It was just a lot of annoying work. But it was good because it was a perfect case in point just now with the get docked thing. Being able to just add new player here. For any future items now that need docking, right, that's done. Any docking and undocking of items, it's all the items are ready to be dockable. They just then need, and that change I made to this script will affect all items and all future. So yeah, big in the game. Big up yourselves, one and all.